Diablo IV is shaping up to be a game that will require a lot of its players, and recent remarks from the associate game director about the hours required in the Battle Pass has many people worried about maybe it's asking too much. I think the bigger question and the more staggering number is beneath all of this, and it's how many characters you are going to have to create in Diablo IV. And yes, I will explain why I think you will need to create 41 characters in this video. So make sure you hit subscribe and the bell button if you like the content. So overall, I think this game is having a bit of an identity crisis. I've actually argued that in a previous live stream, and on one hand, I think they're sort of being accused of making a game that is too casual, and the hardcore fans are sort of analyzing the end game design and saying this is just way too casualified, it's been too broadened for that broad audience. And then on the other hand, they are setting up this sort of seasonal grind, and it seems to be pretty unappealing to casual players for many reasons, and I'll outline those reasons in this video. I'm going to break the video into sort of three sections. First, what's the math? Like, where am I getting this total, and what's the math on the Battle Pass itself? How many hours are you going to have to put in, and what's the problem? Why do I see this as a problem, which obviously means the last section. What's the solution? How exactly can they solve this? Because I actually do think they're going to want to solve this before the game comes out. So what's the math? Why am I saying that you're going to need to create 41 characters? Well, to put it quite simply, it's how they've designed the game. The ongoing format of Diablo IV is going to require you to do this. They have said that they will be doing a new seasonal piece of content or a new season every 3 months. That means you're going to have 4 seasons a year. And if you want to take part in that content, you're going to need to make a new character for every season. So you're going to be making 4 characters a year. And when you multiply that by the 10 years that they hope this game lasts, you get 40 characters, right? You're making 4 characters a year, and you play the game for 10 years, that's 40 characters if that's the only amount that you do. Obviously, you could make more than that. You could decide to do multiple characters in a season, but where am I getting 41? Well, there's going to be an extra character, all right? You're going to have that first character that you start with. You need to remember that the game launches in a pre-seasonal state. Now, you might think, oh, I'm just trying to clickbait. Who really cares about this over the long haul? 41 characters over 10 years. But just hang with me for a second. They recently did an interview with Game Informer. They did the front cover, really cool artwork, and then they answer questions, and they largely just say things that we've already heard. But Associate Game Director Joe Piora, or however you say his name, he was commenting on seasons, and he said that post-launch quarterly content will be meaty updates. And, quote, while he hesitates to use the word expansion for now, the team claims that these updates will consist of new storylines tied to fresh mechanics and features. Now, Seasonal Battle Pass accompanies this, and I'm going to talk about the staggering amount of time you're going to have to put into that in just a minute. So, I really want to push what they're saying here in front of you. Every 3 months, there will be meaty updates that they're hesitating to call expansions that will have new storylines. And they have said in other interviews that these storylines will expand Sanctuary, and the game world will change, and the story's going to be kind of ongoing and unfolding. And they've also said, if you want to partake in this seasonal content, you're gonna have to make a fresh character. Now, those familiar with the seasonal format in Diablo 3 are probably thinking, what's the big deal here? But I think you can start to see why it's kind of crazy that somebody that wants to have this experience, they want to experience the unfolding story and narrative of Sanctuary and Diablo over the next 10 years. Well, you're making 41 characters, and you're doing it every 3 months. That's a tall order for casual players. And you might say, well, who cares about the casual players? I actually think they're very important and vital to a game like this. Under the section about math that we're kind of talking right now, right? What's the math? I want to talk about their comments concerning the Battle Pass because I think this is tied to what I'm talking about. Piora says, quote, right now the Battle Pass, when you're figuring in completing the season journey alongside doing other content in the game, you're looking at roughly 80 hours worth of time invested to complete the entirety of the Battle Pass. To level a character to level 100 could take you a little longer based on how you played. 80 hours to just do the battle pass, and it might take longer depending on how you play. Now, just a quick snapshot, that's about 7 hours a week. And to some people, that's nothing. 7 hours a week, that's like an hour a night. You're going to be clocking 3 or 4 hours a night. This is going to be a breeze for you. But you have to think again about the casual player who may just play once or twice a week. If they only play once a week, they better log 7 hours or they're going to quickly fall behind, which sort of nullifies the purchase of the Battle Pass if you can't even complete it. And let's say they play twice a week. Well, now they've got to play for 3.5 hours each time. That's not really approachable to the average, more casual player. And you can't forget the fact that this game seems to be appealing to a more casual audience this time around. If they fall behind and they don't log enough hours, they're just going to walk away. They simply won't do this. That's an incredibly fast exit for a lot of players. The very mechanism that's been designed to keep people playing and grinding will spit them out on the other side. And you're making a new character every 3 months. You're going to grind that character for a minimum of 80 hours if you want to get everything out of the Battle Pass. And this is one of their primary means of making money in the game from the player base, because the seasons are free. That Battle Pass is one of their money makers. It's possible they simply have their finger firmly on the pulse of the player behavior, and I'm out of touch here, but this is the first Diablo that will launch simultaneously on console and PC in the franchise's history. I don't think you want to look purely at the Diablo 3 player behavior as if that's going to be the primary or more normative player behavior that you'll find in Diablo 4, given this game's broad appeal. So why am I calling this a problem? That's all of the math. That's everything you're going to have to do. 41 characters over 10 years, a new character every 3 months, and 80 hours to complete the Battle Pass. What's the problem with this? Well, I have been defending Diablo 4's decision to broaden the appeal of the game with their choices. They seem to be making the game more approachable to a more casual player, but this seems to be completely at odds with that decision. If they hope to garner a more broad or diverse audience, this seems to be a backwards way of doing it. The seasonal grind and the Battle Pass grind require so much time, and yet there's a cognitive dissonance baked into this. Hardcore players are generally going to focus on endgame content, min-maxing, builds, hard encounters, all of that stuff that's going to take time and increasing the difficulty, raising things up. That's what the hardcore players are going to tend to focus on. Grinding 80 hours on a Battle Pass is not really something that's going to be within their purview. Why? Well, Battle Passes are generally viewed as something casual. You're not really grinding or earning gear, you're just plodding along and you're getting stuff that everybody else is getting. It's not really coveted gear, and the hardcore players tend to chase the more coveted stuff. And this is where the dissonance, I think, really starts to ring. The casuals are going to take one look at 80 hours required, and they're just going to walk away. That's if the requirement to start a brand new character every 3 months doesn't already do that. You have to consider that this game launches in a pre-seasonal state. So casuals are going to be probably shocked when that first season starts and says, hey, all that work, all that grind, you finally got your Paragon board unlocked or moved along or wherever you land and you got some good gear. Well, guess what? You got to start a brand new character if you want to enjoy the new content. That new story, that meaty update, you got to make a brand new character. And I think a lot of them just won't do it, which leads to the final section. What's the solution? First and foremost, I just have to think that they have to make a path for people to enjoy seasonal content with a main character. Again, I think tons of people are looking at this the wrong way. They think the Diablo 3 way is the only way. They think, well, I like the seasonal grind, so should everybody else. I don't think making a new character every 3 months is something that everybody will find appealing. Yes, everything's sped up and it tends to go very fast. It's great for experimentation. It's great when there's new builds or changes to the meta. It is fun and it is awesome, but a lot of people are going to look at this and say, absolutely not. I just got this character to where I really like them, and you want me to start all the way over? Many people will simply walk away when they realize this. All you've got to do if you let people use a main character in a seasonal grind is they would be opting out of the ladder races or really anything in that category. If there's any sort of a race or a ladder or something like that of whoever can do this the fastest, they would be not a part of that. And I don't think that they would care. The people that would opt to do this would be like, I just want to play this new story stuff. I want to see the new cutscenes if there are any cutscenes. This media update sounds pretty awesome, but I don't really feel like starting all the way over. If they just want to experience that new content, what's the harm in letting them do this? The pushback tends to come from people who either don't understand what I'm saying and they think I'm trying to get rid of the seasonal format, or they think any change to the format is toxic. But they need to be reminded that seasonal characters were a new and incredibly foreign concept when they were added in Diablo III. And the format that they're using is not beyond criticism. It's not beyond potential change or improvement. You think it's perfect as is? I don't. I see this being a massive exodus of players when they realize that this is the requirement to enjoy Diablo in an ongoing way. To protect this format in the way that it's some sort of sacred text, I just don't think is helpful. I think there's room for improvement and change here. If you want Diablo IV to be successful for years to come, there simply must be inroads for the large casual player base to grind and spend money. If this audience quickly whittles down to just the hardcore players, I'm actually concerned that the endgame design won't satisfy them either. And that would honestly, I think, change and improve over time. Maybe they might improve the endgame, they might listen to the community. We don't really know yet if the endgame's not going to satisfy them. That's a topic for another video. I think the other thing that would need to be addressed is not just the need to make a new seasonal character every 3 months, but the need to put in 80 hours just to complete a battle pass. Ask Halo Infinite how well it went when they had a battle pass that was intentionally made slow that required people to log in basically every day. Or really any game that does this, where they slow progression to elongate and encourage daily logins. It's counterproductive. It betrays its own aims. If you try to strong-arm players and passively require them to log in and grind a battle pass, they're not going to do it. They'll reject it. They're not going to play, and worse, they're not going to buy your battle pass or return in the future. This is a problem that I think has somewhat easy solutions, and between now and June, I would really hope that they would listen and make adjustments. Because if not, they're going to swing and miss a large audience that likely will not give them a second chance. And honestly, the calendar is quickly filling with lots of games. And if the true currency in the gaming and the online world is attention, that valuable commodity is not worth spurning on your very first season or the format of your battle pass. So, love to know what you think. Leave a comment below. Hit subscribe, hit the bell button so that I could see you in the next video.